Chair now recognizes Ms. Schakowsky for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Madam Chairman. I just have one question for Dr. Resnick. We have seen widespread reports of emergency room doctors and nurses questioning whether care that they are, what care that they are allowed to give to patients who are, in trouble in the wake of this Dobbs decision. I know in your testimony, you state that the American Medical Association appreciated that the Biden administration did clarify to some extent the Emergency Medical Act. You talked a bit about that, the follow-up. But anyway, my question for you is, do you feel that providers have clear information about what they can and can't do, and what are we going to do about that? When doctors ask, how much bleeding is bleeding enough, or, what are the guidelines right now? Are they there?
Thank you, Congresswoman, for that question. It's quite important, and my answer is no. They do not have clear guidance right now, and I can't sugarcoat this, and I can't magically fix it, because they are facing contradictory laws in the wake of the Dobbs decision, and states that while another witness has said that they didn't have trouble managing ectopics over the years, that was in a Roe universe. And while we've heard stuff to the contrary, the reality that doctors are facing in many states now is that there are laws that are very specific about very narrow exceptions for the life of the mother or the health of a major organ system. And so these questions do come up every day, as you've heard from Dr. Verma. How much risk is enough risk? We have states where a patient was sent home after a miscarriage and an infection with premature rupture of membranes, where the patient had to wait till they were febrile and risking sepsis so that the physicians could feel safe. So we actually did ask for the administration to help with this clarification on EMTALA, because it gives one counterbalance to some of these dangerous state laws. But the reality is that physicians are still every day facing incredibly difficult situations where they're just put in unacceptable circumstances, having to weigh the risk. And again, there are very well-trained attorneys in some of these hospitals telling them very clearly, you can't do anything yet because the state law in this state that has just passed, or the state law from the 1800s that's still in effect, would judge you, and you would find yourself at risk of being accused in some cases of a felony and in years of trial to maintain your freedom and your medical license.
Are you saying even right now, when supposedly there is certainly the life of the mother has to be considered, that there are people who may face death because they can't get an abortion?
Yes, and one of the privileges of my job is that I get to talk to physicians around the country about what they're experiencing. So I've been doing a lot of that these last 3 weeks since I was sworn in to my current role as AMA president. But I also want to emphasize that there are the extreme examples which are incredibly concerning, which we have tried to shine a spotlight on. There are also everyday examples where, again, you just have to imagine being a physician in difficult circumstances where it's not always clear where things are headed. And this is where actually having thorough, thoughtful conversations about a patient's values and their wishes is very important. And that's what physicians do every day. And these are hard enough things for doctors and patients to face alone in a medical exam room together, with the uncertainties that we all face and the difficult decisions that patients make every day and that we help be there with them for. They're a lot harder when sitting on your shoulder as a physician as a state attorney general, who is going to retrospectively judge, particularly in this charged environment, those decisions that you are making. So we're taking something complicated and hard and trying to draw very artificial statutory lines around them. So it's not only that these more extraordinary examples, which are real and common, are dangerous, but just think about every day, right? 1% to 2% of all pregnancies are ectopic pregnancies. Miscarriages, spontaneous abortions, everybody I know has a loved one, a family member, a friend who has experienced that. These are incredibly common things where the complexities are real, and doctors and patients have to be free to have these difficult conversations together and make difficult choices together, again, without having their judgment constrained.
Thank you so much for your response. Really appreciate it, and I yield back.
Thanks for the question.
Thank the gentlelady. Now recognizes Mr. Burgess for 5 minutes.